Hello there, you stunner you. I'm Chris from TechSpert and I'm here today with the Realme X3 SuperZoom. Now this bad boy is a successor to last year's excellent Realme X2 smartphone, and it's packing some seriously premium features like a 5x periscope zoom for that rear camera and some full-on gaming chops. Unfortunately, the one thing we don't know right now as I shoot this video is the actual asking price, because I got it a week ahead of the official launch. That will be revealed at the launch and I'll update in the description down below. So let's give the Realme X3 SuperZoom a full unboxing and an in-depth tour of all of the hardware and software so you know exactly what to expect ahead of my in-depth review. And for more of the latest greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So the Realme X3 SuperZoom should sit somewhere in between the budget-friendly handsets like the Realme 6 and the Realme 6 Pro, and of course that Realme X50 Pro 5G full-on flagship handset. You don't get the latest Snapdragon 865 chipset or of course that 5G support, but what you do get is a hot camera. So if you're into your optics, your photography, then definitely you might want to look at the Realme X3 SuperZoom ahead of the Realme X50 Pro 5G, which had an alright camera, but it also had its little quirks, shall we say. So there's the actual phone itself. Let's just pop that aside, see what else you get in the box. So of course you get a lovely condom cover in order to protect your precious new X3 SuperZoom. Important information guides, and in here I'm guessing some cables, and oh my god, an absolutely monster plug as well. Look at the size of that bad boy. So yeah, Type-C USB cable. Oh, and we've got a little pokey pin device hidden away underneath that as well to get your SIM card in there. And as always, a charming little message: welcome to the Realme family. Oh, isn't that nice? So that's the box. Now let's check out the phone. And there she blows. There is the Realme X3 SuperZoom in its raw, naked form, fully unsheathed. And I've got to say, first impressions, quite liking it. So what you have here is actually a glass backing, although it doesn't have that mirror effect of a lot of glass smartphones. It's been etched to the microscopic level to give it a matte style shine instead. And that should mean, just like the Realme X50 Pro before it, you don't get any greasy fingerprints, scuffs and marks all over it, so nice and easy to keep it looking pristine. And I really like the feel of it as well. It kind of reminds me of a pearl effect actually, because it feels smooth but also like slightly rough at the same time. Your fingers kind of stick on it a little bit. So yeah, definitely feels quite premium, quite luxurious. And Realme are really going for those chilly cold colors on this bad boy as well. This is the Arctic white model, otherwise you can also pick up the Realme X3 SuperZoom in Glacier blue. I would say quite apt for us here in the UK, but it is actually bright sunshine and about 24 degrees outside right now. And as you can hopefully make out there, the Realme X3 SuperZoom's back end does throw up a slight rainbow glow when it catches the light, just so a bit of a light streak in there, but it is definitely a very subdued effect, certainly compared with a lot of its budget smartphones. Hopefully the back end should prove rather hardy, and around front you've got a Gorilla Glass 5 plating across that display to help protect it from damage as well, and also a pre-installed screen protector, which is great to see. I know there's no official IP rating for water resistance, but apparently Realme has thrown in 3 different layers of waterproofing, including some silicone gel sealing those open ports, and also a bit of waterproof foam surrounding elements like the SIM tray as well. But anywho, enough of me banging on. Let's see if we've got any juice in the tank. Nice edge-mounted fingerprint sensor / power button here on the side of the Realme X3, and yes, it does indeed look like we're good to go. So get it all set up and then let's take a full-on tour of the rest of the phone. Alright. So the Realme X3 SuperZoom is all set up and ready for action. And what we get on here is a fresh bit of Android 10 with the Realme UI launcher slathered on top, just like the Realme 6, the Realme X50 Pro 5G, and all those other Realme smartphones that we've had recently. I've already banged on about that in great detail in my full Realme UI tips and tricks guide, so go check that out if you want to know a bit more about the sort of the features and distinctive bits of it. But it is basically still ColorOS by a different name because it's a fresh new venture. As you can see, quite a messy settings menu, but quite a lot of interesting features and tools packed away in there. So as you can see there, you got the dark mode, which comes set on by default. You got the swipe navigation, which is definitely preferable to the old navigation bar down below. You got stuff like the one-handed mode, which is super handy when you're struggling around, can't use both hands to clutch this mighty smartphone at the same time. And so far, I've got to say, loving that edge-mounted fingerprint sensor as well. I do love the edge scanners because they're just nice and comfy, easy to find with your finger, and it certainly seems nice and responsive so far, touch wood, on the X3. And it's even backed by a bit of face recognition as well, so in case your fingers are out of commission for whatever reason, you can just use a bit of that instead. Swipe up, boom, straight in, no worries. Now the screen here on the Realme X3 SuperZoom is a 6.6-inch panel. It's a 2400 by 1080 pixel resolution, so full HD plus. And by default, the vivid mode is active, so those more sort of vibrant hues, they really come across as really nice and punchy and in your face, but you know, not to a troublesome degree certainly. If you dive on into the Realme's display settings, you can actually play around with that. So as you can see, set to vivid, to start with, but you can actually dial it down to gentle for more accurate color reproduction instead if you prefer those more natural looking hues. And you've also got the likes of the Aussie Vision Effect feature as well, which is supposedly to boost the clarity, the contrast and the colors when you're watching videos back. So let's just stick that on. I haven't noticed a massive difference with it in the past, but you never know. And you'll also notice a section here in the display settings for the screen refresh rate. That's because you've got up to a 120 Hz refresh rate here on the Realme X3 SuperZoom. So you can stick it all the way on that maximum level if you want, or keep it at 60 Hz if you want to be a bit more conservative with your battery life. Or alternatively, taking all the pressure out of it, you can just stick it on auto select and the Realme X3 will choose for you based on what you're actually doing. And boy howdy, let me tell you, that is beautifully smooth. Of course, you can't really truly appreciate it at home, unfortunately, because I'll be encoding this video at like 30 frames per second. But yeah, just take my word for it, it's nice. Doesn't look like it's going to be one of the brightest smartphone displays around, so probably if you're going to be watching movies out on a sunshiny day, something like that, you might be struggling a little bit, but hopefully not too bad. And of course, as you can see there, you do have the dual selfie camera right there in the bottom corner as well, so quite a big pinhole cut out, but at least it's shoved away there in the corner, so hopefully touchwood shouldn't prove intrusive when you're gaming and watching some videos. As for the actual audio, it's just a mono speaker down here on the bottom edge. Sadly, you don't get a stereo speaker setup, which is a shame. I do like a nice stereo speaker setup for gaming again and movie playback. Let's just give it a go, see how loud it is.
You'll definitely want to get stuck straight into right away. So here's my guide on how to get the most from your Huawei smartphone, and for more on the latest and greatest.
So it seems reasonably loud, certainly should be fine for a fairly noisy environment, and decent clarity on that top volume as well, so at least it's a respectable effort. Unfortunately though, no headphone jack anywhere here on the Realme X3 SuperZoom, so you're going to be relying on Bluetooth or a bit of USB dongle action. But you do at least get a good bit of Dolby Atmos support and support for high-res audio as well. As for the performance, well, the Realme X3 SuperZoom doesn't quite match the super premium X50 Pro 5G with its Snapdragon 865 chipset. Rather, you get the Snapdragon 855 Plus, which came out sort of middle of last year. I believe it was the Asus ROG Phone 2 was the first phone we saw with that packed inside. Still packs some serious grunt though, so should be absolutely fine for gaming on the go, no worries whatsoever. And that's backed by DDR4 RAM rather than the faster DDR5, but you can get up to 12 gigabytes on here, and this is indeed the 12 gig model, so again, should prove absolutely fine for all of your gaming, whatever you want to do. And oh, I've just seen there's some Cowboy Bebop news. Definitely be interested to see how the live action adaptation of that turns out. It's by the Snowpiercer guy though, so fingers crossed. So again, marginally distracted there. And in more good news for gamers, there's a 120 Hz touch response rate on here as well. Not quite up there with those dedicated gaming smartphones, but should prove pretty handy for those fast-paced action games like your PubG and your Fortnite. Apparently there's even a bit of vapor cooling tube action in here, so that should help to keep your smartphone reasonably cool when you're blasting through the likes of PubG on those high detail settings. So I'll be testing that out, check back for my full review to see how it held up. As for the storage, up to 256 gigs here on the X3 SuperZoom, but no micro SD memory card support. There's only enough room in that tray for 2 SIM cards, and it is UFS 3.0. On the battery front, nothing too special. The X3 supports a 4200 mAh cell with 30 watt fast charger. Not exactly a real competitor to some of the real big bad boys out there, which have 5000 mAh cells and up to 65 watt fast charger, but you get a full charge in about an hour or so. So you'll probably occasionally have to just leave it charging overnight if you want a full charge the next day. So far some pretty decent specs here on the Realme X3, even though it doesn't have the latest fresh new Snapdragon 865 chipset, it doesn't have 5G support, but hopefully it does have it where it really counts, and that is the camera tech. What you get here is a 64 megapixel primary lens, just like the Realme X50 Pro 5G, and that's using the Samsung GW1 sensor. That is backed by the most exciting part, an 8 megapixel periscope lens with optical image stabilization, capable of a 5 times optical zoom or 60 times maximum zoom using a combination of optical and digital. And you've also got an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens on there for a very different kind of viewpoint, and a 2 megapixel macro lens. I still don't see the point in those at all. Maybe it's got some fans out there. If you like macro lenses, please tell me why in the comments. I just don't get it. So as you see there, Realme X3 camera app, basically your standard Realme effort. You've got your AI scene recognition, which I tend to leave off. It does tend to produce more vibrant colors if that's the kind of thing you want. I prefer more natural hues. You can flip between the ultra wide angle and then the telescope lenses like so. And of course pinch in to go all the way in on his cute little eyeball. And then you've got all the usual modes on board as well, including good old portrait, a nice bokeh style background effect. 64 megapixel mode will shoot at that full maximum resolution using the primary lens. By standard, it will just shoot at 16 megapixel using pixel binning instead. Got, of course, the ultra macro mode. Again, don't see the point. Otherwise, you can dive on into some proper pro expert controls if you want manual control over the likes of the white balance, the shutter speed, the ISO levels, and you can actually play around with the periscope zoom using that lens as well. And as you can see there, you can shoot in full on RAW format too, as long as you're not using the ultra wide angle lens, that is. Now things are getting a little bit dark. You got a nice bit of ambient mood action on the go. You've got Nightscape 4.0 on the go to help really brighten up those shots. Apparently it works really well even in very dark conditions. And as you can see there, you've even got a tripod mode as well if you happen to carry around a tripod for your phone. And if we head back into video, you should be able to shoot up to 4K resolution footage. And yep, as I hoped, you've got a choice of either 30 or 60 frames per second, even at that Ultra HD level. And then last up, let's swap around to that dual front-facing selfie setup with that snazzy little light effect when you activate it. Lovely stuff. It's a 32 megapixel primary lens using Sony's IMX616 sensor, and that's backed by an 8 megapixel ultra-wide angle lens as well, which you can swap to with a quick tap like so. And that'll be really handy for when you gather together with friends again and share good times without having to worry about getting the plague, so that's always awesome. And with that selfie camera, you've actually got full support for the Nightscape 4.0 as well, using either the ultra-wide angle or the standard lens, so hopefully it should produce some nice low-light selfies. I'll be, of course, testing that out in full, and you can also shoot a good bit of video too, and up to full HD resolution. And that in a nutshell is the Realme X3 SuperZoom. So what do you reckon? Are you tempted? It definitely looks like an alternative option to the X50 Pro if you really fancy some snazzy camera tech with that nice bit of periscope zoom action. Although the rest of the specs aren't quite as premium, of course you are doing away with the likes of the 5G. What will be really interesting, of course, is what the final UK asking price for the Realme X3 is, so I will be waiting with bated breath for that one. If it's around the £400 mark or possibly under, then that would be fantastic. It could be pretty solid value for money and a strong rival to the likes of the Pixel 4a when that finally emerges. And for more on the latest greatest tech, please do subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a lovely week, people. Cheers everyone, love you.